Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's uLaw webinar. The topic for today's webinar is payment integration with Nuvie, which is one of the payment gateways that uLaw integrates with as just part of our current program and our product. And today's webinar is not accredited for any CPD credits, but we do have our webinars forthcoming that are accredited for CPD. So please do check it out at info.ulawpractice.com/webinar for more information on our CPD sessions. It's going to be a pretty straightforward, quick and easy webinar today, so hopefully we'll let you be on a Friday afternoon. The focus is going to be, as part of our ongoing webinars and demonstrations of key capabilities, one of the areas that we've chosen is the ease of payment integration with your legal office. We've chosen many different payment gateway partners who are not only convenient but compliant with the overall Law Society's compliance guidelines, who facilitate that compliance as means of their service, means of their own product capabilities. So those are the types of partners that we've worked with. A few weeks back, we had worked and shown you the capability with another payment gateway, and today we're happy to showcase to you the integration that we have with a partner product company called Nuvie. And we're certainly going to talk about the importance of this integration, the importance of payment integration in general, and specifically talk about a demonstration and walk through how easy it is for you to set up your uLaw integration with this partner. Okay? All right, for those who are currently intaking payments without an integrated payment, let's say you're doing it through check or maybe through cash, some other means, one of the added advantages that we want to advocate for is around the integrated payment solution is the ability for you to not only get paid money into your general account, but uLaw now facilitates through the partnership with these companies, these partner companies, facilitates the intake of trust payments as well right into your trust account. So your retainer amount that you receive from your client, now you can actually pretty much receive it through a credit card payment, if you will, from your client. That's one of the significant improvements that we've made to facilitate faster, easier, convenient acceptance of payment into trust. Okay? And it's also the fact that it's anytime, anywhere access. So wherever you have access to uLaw through the wonder of web, and once you've set up your payment account with Nuvie, you pretty much have it as your terminal to take it along with you. So it almost becomes your own terminal to accept payment. And through some of the important product updates that we've done, you can also send out invoices or send out retainer letters with a link, almost as a self-serve for your customers to pay you for your service. So that's an added advantage of this integrated payment solution as well. Okay. And the fact of the matter is there's certainly a cost that's associated with the convenience that's being provided through the service. Now, each payment partner has their own interest charges based on the number of transactions, based on certain guidelines that they have established as a company. And what we tend to do is facilitate a candid conversation with our partners for our clients. And there are, of course, certain added discounts that you get as a uLaw customer when you approach these payment gateway partners. So that's something that we've established with these partners, is to be able to do the best they can when it comes to pricing and pricing you the percentages they would charge you when it comes down to this. Some payment gateway providers provide, certain months off in terms of monthly fees. Some of them may waive out the monthly fees for the whole year. So there are many different programs each of these partners provide. Okay? But overall, as an integrated payment, the two big takeaways is the convenience and the compliance component of you now being able to accept retainers right into your trust account. And what happens behind the scene is the payment provider deposits, let's say, $1,000 retainer straight into your trust account, and let's say they're charging 3% on that $1,000 as their service fee that you have to provide as becomes part of almost your office expense. So that $30 gets taken out of your general account. So they connect your trust and general account to their corresponding trust and general, and the $1,000 gets deposited into trust. The trust account is left untouched, and whatever service fee is taken away is taken directly from general. Okay? So you're not dealing with bounce checks anymore. You're not dealing with delay in payments. The payment is done then and there. It's validated right away, and you're good to go. And as I mentioned in my previous slide, the convenience that Nuvie provides, like other payment partners too, but Nuvie does a good job of separating IDs in terms of trust and general. So it compartmentalizes it, makes it easier for it to deposit and remove money from your corresponding trust and general accounts as needed. And the fact that the workflow of how you accept money into the trust and general through these gateways are built right into the uLaw platform, there's no additional training or there's no additional requirements in terms of understanding how to do it. It's a very fairly simple process. We'll walk you through the process in just another 5 minutes. Okay? Okay. A big part of today's demonstration is going to be exactly this, is how do you set up the payment integration with uLaw, which we'll certainly go through that in a minute. But just to leave you with the fact that it's a simple change in your settings. By default, it's set to no credit card payment. But once you've established and you've signed up with a payment provider, then all you have to do is choose that provider within the uLaw drop-down, enter your credentials, which are provided by these payment gateway providers, and then it's a one-time save, and that information is retained within uLaw for you to use thereafter. Now, we spoke about cost effectiveness, we spoke about compliance, and we also now briefly discussed the flexibility of separating out trust and general. But one of the important critical things that you have to ask yourself is how secure are these payments? As you know, uLaw is bank-grade secure in terms of our 256-bit encryption, but also our payment partners pretty much have very similar high standards of security, ensuring that the payments are tokenized and encrypted. So you can be rest assured that the payments are not misappropriated, doesn't get lost. It's very much secure, and these transactions are kept as secure as they possibly can. Think about a financial transaction that you do with your financial institution, your bank, your credit unions, etc. Okay, so you should have that leap of faith, or have the confidence, if you will, in terms of security aspect of that financial transaction. Okay? Okay. We're going to get right into the demonstration of how it's done with Nuvie. So I'm going to shift gears right from my presentation mode into my product demo. As always, what you see in front of you here is our 6 years legal practitioner, Roger Moore. And one of the first steps, as I mentioned, that you would take in considering a payment gateway integration with uLaw is moving into our settings. You have several tabs, of course, within our settings, and one of the important tabs I'll draw your attention to is that of the accounts. Now, by default, when you come into your settings under accounts, under payment collection, which is the line item that you want to keep your focus on, By default, this is set to none. Which means that this is a blank slate, and essentially you haven't yet registered for a payment integration option or haven't shared that information with uLaw yet. Okay. The next step, as you can see, we work with Pivotal, who's renamed as Nuvie, Moneris, TD, Global Payments, and very recently LawPay. So we have 5 different providers who you have options to work with. But I'm going to choose the Pivotal Payments test account. And Pivotal is renamed as Nuvie, and you can very well Google them up as well. Okay. Now, when you choose the Pivotal Payments, I've used the test account. Of course, that's for our demonstration purposes, but in your real life, you'd use Pivotal Payments as your choice, which would give you the opportunity to enter your own terminal ID and general terminal ID, just like that. Now, each ID or terminal ID in this case would have its own password. Okay, so you have a terminal ID for Trust with its own password that you can set up with Nuvie. Likewise, a password protection for your general as well. Now, once you've entered that information, all you have to do is click the Save button on the top left, and you can see it says Saving Settings. And this is the first time that you're introducing uLaw to this payment partner that you've signed up with. It uses the Trust ID and the secret key, the terminal for general and its secret key. So uLaw retains that information. And now we get into a regular workflow of a day-to-day situation of when and how you accept these payments. Right? So there could be many different instances, and let's look at a few. Let me look at a recent client. So let's say you've done a basic client intake and you have this client, Patricia. I'm going to go ahead and create a matter. You can see there's already a matter created for Patricia. And the client actually owes us $678. Okay, so let me take the simpler example where there's already work put in. There's a few phone calls, document drafting, final closure, right? Previous client payments made. It looks like you have generated the invoice and are waiting for a payment. Now, one example is where you call this client, Patricia, right, and then you're able to take that payment on a phone. All you can do is click Action, Accept Client Payment, and enter the amount that the client is willing to pay you through a credit card. So now you can operate by telling your client, I'm happy to accept that credit card over the phone if that's something that you're convenient, you're happy to do. This is one example. And here's where you validate the fields that are terminal ID and you have your amount. And this automatically becomes your terminal ID, or your terminal, if you will, where you can now choose between Visa, Discover, Diners, so you really provide flexibility to your end customer of them making payments through any payment credit card that they may operate. And I'm going to use a test card number. And I'll show you what one of the importance of this becomes. So let's say this is okay, so let's say this was a wrong credit card number. For whatever reason, the customer gave you a wrong credit card number, or it could be an expired one, or the validation of the expiry date is old, then right away, Nuvie would be able to tell you and give you that information, such as your credit card is invalid or it's expired, any of those. So you can tell your customer to provide an alternate payment method. Okay, so you don't have to wait for it to bounce, check being a situation. So you put the right credit card number in, and you click Pay Now, right away that 678 gets deposited into your general account. Okay, it gets deposited at 678, and let's say the 2% or 3% then gets subtracted after that, which is very important because it's easier now for you to ledger, because the 678 is the actual amount. Sometimes what happens or can happen if it's not compliant is that that amount of service fee may be removed from that 678 and then deposited as an amount. That can sometimes get confusing. Instead, what is done is the 678 is deposited in full, and then as a separate line transaction, the $15 or $20 is then taken away from your general account. It makes it easier to reconcile, easier for you to manage your ledgers. So right away you know that this transaction is approved, and you get this particular reference ID or transaction number to deal with. All you have to do is tell uLaw that the payment was made through this credit card, and then this is the reference number. You give them a receipt right away, and this is how you have, in real life, accepted money and also informed uLaw with the appropriate reference ID, so that now uLaw in its own books is able to showcase that 678 as an accepted payment into the general ledger. Okay, so if I go into my accounts, I go into compliance and into my general ledger. You notice under Patricia Kendall, you have your 678 as a payment received. Okay? Depends where I put the money in though. Yeah, go to the Royal Bank of Canada. That's the default. You can also notice right here that you've got the payment accepted for 678 on this particular date. And I'll also show you the general payment receipt. And there it is. Tells you it's a credit card. Also has the reference number. Not only that, if I go into my general reconciliation, maybe there's a lot of transactions, so we'll just give it a minute here. But right away with the uLaw, once that payment has been accepted, it also makes it a part of the reconciliation process. So that if you're reconciling for the month of November, maybe moving it to the first few days of December, reconciling for today, let's say, then it's already available to you. Of course, these are the main functions of the legal accounting software. The big takeaway for you would be the convenience of the integration with Nuvie as a payment gateway platform, making it easier now, of course, to keep that workflow going. Then realize that this demo account has so many accounts that are unledgered or unreconciled. There you go. So I guess there's too many transactions for me to deal with, but you get the idea. So another simpler way that we've established the payment is let's go ahead and add another docket for the same client. And let's say I'm going to charge maybe an hour at the $400 rate. Okay. And let's go ahead and generate an invoice. So when you have this invoice being available as a PDF, you can send this to Patricia and have this particular link, which is automatically included in the invoice as soon as you have set it up in your settings. As soon as this is done, this gets automatically done as a function. Okay? And what this facilitates is instead of you having to call and take that credit card number, it just becomes a simple, easy click for your client to do that same self-serve capability. And they go through the same process that you did while accepting that. Okay? Alrighty, so again, self-serve capabilities provided at no extra cost except for the payment service fee that you would provide the payment gateway. You get notified through an email that this payment has come through. And as soon as you receive that email, you do the same thing into uLaw. You'd come in and accept that payment as a means of telling us that that has happened. So one is to be able to make a general payment in terms of calling them or accepting it over the phone. Another one is a self-serve where you can send them an invoice with the link so that the client can now pay for it at their own convenience. Okay, so two separate examples. The third example that I'll draw attention to is let's say there's a retainer amount that you're requesting. Okay, whether you're generating a retainer letter, it gets embedded right into that. Okay, but let's say the person comes to your office. Now you're accepting, let's say you're not taking the check, you're like, hey, I can accept credit card payments too. Now you can see the workflow, we did not go into accepting the client payment. I went into my trust account and I said deposit in trust. And I said the actual workflow step is that of me accepting a new retainer into this matter. Okay? So now when I enter the amount, you can see the blue button glows up and you go through the same process. But this time the order and the terminal ID are different. It points to our trust account. And let's say they use the same credit card. They go through the same process. But behind the scene, what you don't see here in this demo, but behind the scene what's happened is that $1,000 is deposited into your actual financial account or institutional account that's connected with Nuvie's trust ID, and the service fee is taken out of your general account from your RBC or CIBC bank account that's connected to the Nuvie general terminal ID. Okay? But giving you just the convenience that you can simply accept payments for trust as well through the same payment gateway that you're using for general payments. And here's a trust receipt. Same thing applies behind the scenes. So you go into your compliance, go into your trust compliance, your ledger. There is that retainer that was received $1,000 through this credit card payment. As simple as that. Okay? Now, one step further, what you may be required to do, of course, is come under your office expense, because uLaw is a full-fledged business accounting software as well. So there's two ways, I believe, in which you can receive your monthly statements from these payment providers. You get one consolidated report that you can utilize that tells you the total expense that you have incurred from this payment gateway, right? So you can come in here and you can say, my office expense, let's say for the month ending November 30th, okay, let's create a new expense type. So I'll say add expense payment. And call this Nuvie monthly expense. So you can say Nuvie payment fees or the Nuvie monthly expense, and this just tells us the monthly expense for November was for a total of $2,000 or something like that, right? Paid to Nuvie payments, direct. Typically, you put the date for a monthly expense statement. You would put in the date. They might give you an invoice for the overall amount. Okay, this way, now you've recorded the actual expense that you have incurred as a business to do business with Nuvie right into the uLaw account. So one is you've used the integration with Nuvie to accept payment from your client. Next, you've informed uLaw that this is the total amount of expense that you incurred from Nuvie as a vendor who has provided you the service. So this is one. Another way of doing it is adding expenses or as and when they come, right? So let's say you just had that transaction. You could say payment for Patricia, $30. So you can record it one at a time. This pretty much comes down to the total number of transactions that you accept or you're utilizing the credit card for, the agreement that you have with Nuvie or any payment provider. But really comes down to the convenience. uLaw provides you that convenience of recording the expenses as well in whichever style that you prefer, whether it's a monthly invoice or if it's for per transaction basis that you're entering it into the system. Of course, with our bank imports, you can do that as well. You can simply just import the bank statement. You can connect with your bank. That's a very new feature in the platform, right? It's at no additional charge to you. You can connect with your own TD, any of your financial institutions that you work with. And those transactions, you don't even have to enter them anymore. They're just brought into the system because that $30 was taken out of your bank account anyways, and that's proof of it. Okay? So in terms of the overall webinar today, those are the top salient features that we want to showcase to you, is starting with our settings, being able to set up your payment gateway. Please do reach out to us at support@ulawpractice.com if you'd like to learn more or connect with our partner at Nuvie. So we'll be more than happy to facilitate that conversation. And then you could talk to them, understand the conveniences of the payment platform, what they have to offer, and if once you've signed up with Nuvie, all you have to do is come in and choose Pivotal Payments as your choice, set it up, click the Save button, and then as you start to enter clients and matters, you can right away start to intake payments, whether it's trust-related or general-related, right within the uLaw platform. I will open up the floor for any questions that you may have with regards to today's webinar. As I mentioned, I certainly promise to keep it shorter than usual. Again, it's not a CPD session, but the webinar is being recorded. It will certainly be available for you to utilize on our YouTube channel. Okay. Yeah, so please do reach out to support@ulawpractice.com. I'm typing this in our chat window, and with your specific request, and we can definitely point you to in the right direction of who you need to talk to with the Nuvie. Any other questions at all for today? Okay. If there aren't any more questions, thank you very much for joining me in this webinar. Look forward to certainly seeing you in our next webinar, which is a CPD session. So if you can just go into info@ulawpractice.com, and you can pretty much register here, and then we could send you notifications, or you can download our Chrome extension if you like. Okay, so today was the Nuvie integration. Next week we have a CPD session, which talks about everything practice management. The week after that, we have another CPD session, which talks about reconciliation, because it's that time of the year. And we wrap up our webinars over the next 2 weeks and then take a break for holidays. And that's what you have to look forward to with our webinar sessions. Thank you once again. Hopefully this was your time well spent, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Take care.